Yeah, the producer and my like collaborator on the project. I mean, everyone that I brought into the project are like very much like pop producers, like
Nice,
really um doing well in their careers in their respective lanes.
nice.
And my goal is like just because it's children's music, like production should absolutely not be sacrificed and sort of the vibe of it and theme should be like both like span ages, not just for like kids to bop out to.
Dystopia tonight.
Fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
Dystopia tonight.
But anyway, so you have a new album out, which is awesome. I did get to listen to it, by the way. He sent me.
You did?
I did, yeah, and I
Are
really
you a
like.
dad? I didn't ask
No,
you
do I
that.
look like a dad? That's upsetting. I no, I'm just kidding. Not to knock dads anywhere, but no, I don't. I'm not a dad. Not as far as I know. Knock on wood.
Okay.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
Never
Are you a
know.
mom?
I am. I have a
Very,
5-year-old and
very
a
cool.
2-year-old. I'm a boy mom
You,
situation over here.
oh, nice. Very. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Now my friend's the same way. Yeah, got two boys.
Yeah.
So it's and then I'm just like, do you want a girl? And she was like, we don't talk about that.
I mean, if I had 3 boys, honestly, it would ruin me. It's
But
like I think about that sometimes. Like anyone who has 3 boys, I don't know how they do that. Like
yeah,
the energy, the boy energy is like for real,
right, right.
you
That's
know.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I know that's got to be kind of rough.
I need like a female dog in my life, but I'm
There
allergic to
you go.
dogs, so
What about a
I
cat?
don't know what to do. I'm terribly allergic to cats and
Oh, okay.
anything
Don't get
with
a cat.
fur. No.
Oh, okay.
I am
Nope.
animal free house over here.
Oh, that's cool. No, but I got to listen to the album because John sent it over to me, and it was like I was like, this is kind of stuff like I would send like my niece or nephew, you know what I mean, or like my cousin. Like this is good, like fun music, and it's not like because I remember kids' music when I was a kid, and I would be like, I felt bad, like I'll like revisit it because it's nostalgic for me, but I want to be like, why did my parents not throw me out of the fucking car, like like, but it doesn't. You kind of combined like modern tastes with great
I
lyrics for kids and
appreciate
stuff like that.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you like kind of like nailing all of my like hopes for the album and how it
Oh,
would
good.
resonate in that like I really am making this album for parents. Um
Nice.
with children in mind, of course,
Mhm,
because when I never actually grew up listening to kids music. Like that just wasn't a thing in my house. Like I've discovered it as an
mhm.
adult, which is odd. But yeah, I like as I was getting into it and like, mom friends were sending me things. I was like, there's got to be more. Like, why aren't I
Sure.
like getting that like production sensibility and that kind of like current vibe, but
Right.
also that like wholesomeness of like
Mm.
the Mr. Rogers era.
Right.
So I was like setting out to kind of create something for families, like parents specifically, to like not want to like, crawl out of the room after like one like round of it, like, and that's
Right.
how all of these kind of like word candy type kid songs that like
Mhm.
are like made so that kids are like almost like addicted to it. They're like again, again, again. I'm like,
Yeah.
how can I make that again moment, but
Mhm.
like feel tolerable and pleasant even?
Yeah.
Um, so that was my hope.
But Unicorn has a very like I don't think I would know initially if it was a kid song if I just heard it in the background. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be like, is this like kids music? Like it just sound I would be like, is this Dua Lipa? Who you know what I mean? Like it just sounds like something that you would just hear like naturally on like the radio station that you listen to or something.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, the producer and my like collaborator on the project. I mean, everyone that I brought into the project are like very much like pop producers, like
Nice.
really doing well in their careers in their respective lanes.
Nice.
And my goal is like just because it's children's music, like production should absolutely not be sacrificed, and sort of the vibe of it and theme should be like both like span ages, not just for like kids to bop out to. It should
Mhm.
feel. And Dua Lipa actually, it was like that song "Levitating," like da 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 da
Yeah.
da 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 da. Like my son was
Yeah.
loving it. And he was like 3 or something like that. So that was sort of the like inspo at the time. That song
Mhm.
in particular, to be like, how can we write a song like this but for kids?
Right. What is the kind of stuff that you do? Like you said, you didn't listen to kids' music when you were a kid, but what was the stuff that influenced you when you were younger?
I listened to so my mom was in like a backyard like rock and roll kind of band. Like a lot of the my dad was in sorry, my son is like banging on the door
Oh,
outside.
is it?
It's
I can't
amazing.
hear anything. That's cool.
Okay, good. They might like bust in here because I didn't lock the door. Big mistake.
That's
But yeah, my
hilarious.
mom was in like a rock and roll band of like doctors and nurses from my dad's hospital. And
Oh
they
wow.
played like kind of just like backyard parties of
Mhm.
all like rock and roll, like Supremes, like traditional rock and roll.
Sure.
Um, so I grew up to like the cassette, their practice tape, which
Uh-huh.
ages me
Uh-huh.
quite a bit.
No, I got you.
And we would sing like "Message in a Bottle,"
Oh
like
my
those
gosh.
types of songs. Man, so yeah, a lot of classic songs. And then my dad loved the like more jazzy, like Frank Sinatra
Nice.
um, so I grew up like obviously I wasn't always pursuing a career in the children's music lane,
Sure.
but my first career in music was really pursuing like Nora Jones-esque type of career.
Love
I
Nora
loved sort
Jones.
of that pop sensibility, but loved the Diana Kralls of the world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of those songs
Okay.
definitely informed my sort of like love for like the hook.
Sure.
Like all of the Supreme songs have like such a vibe to them. And any song in that genre of like rock and roll is
Yeah.
as like a classic.
Absolutely. How important is it to you to get the lyrics also? Like, because I don't know how uh often kids pay attention to lyrics, but I do know that like I went back and like kind of listened to like what is it actually saying? When I gave a shit about it. So like how important that is to make sure that like when they're a little older and they get to go back and re-listen to what they were listening to, that it like resonates.
Yeah, like I was saying, like I wanted this project not to be like saturated at all just because it
Mhm.
was in the kids genre. I wanted it to like feel clever and like
Yeah.
fun and timely, and something that felt elevated still. So yeah, lyrics were absolutely something that were like top of mind. However, I will say like in differing from like a pop session where it's like you could, you're always searching for that like word candy and like reworking until you can be like the most clever. Um, this was like very straightforward, which was so much fun and like freeing because like the first idea was generally like the idea we went with.
Mhm.
Um, and it was so literal, right? Like you say what you're going to say,
Yeah.
without trying to like find a new inventive way to say it.
Mhm.
Um, so that was like much more freeing in a way to kind of be with such great writers in the room, but trying
Right.
to be so basic at the same time.
Right. Yeah. What was there ever anything that didn't get like did make it to the album that you kind of regret now? Like, because I always wonder, like, an artist in general, like how hard it is for each individual artist to walk away from a project and go, it's done, and now I got to move on to the next thing. Like, was it finished and you were like, oh man, I really wish I fought harder for this, or.
Well, there's one song on the album. All all 12 completed songs are on the album that
Oh,
we
great.
finished over the course of the years. But I would say that the one song that sort of we kept coming back to and couldn't figure out how to make it not sound too mature was this one
Oh.
song "Shake It," which is like a kind
Oh,
of like
okay.
a dancey song. I was like, are people
Uh
gonna
huh.
know this is a kid's song? Like, I
I
don't
could
want it
see
to
that.
just be like a cheesy song. Like, how do we make it more kids? So we like kept coming back to it and then kept leaving it out. And at the end, I was like, whatever, let's just put it on and see what happens.
Nice.
Um, And some
That-
people really like it, and like I'm like I don't know. It definitely is like like is the balance between like cheese, but maybe not. I don't
Mhm.
know. Like sometimes you have to just let other people decide.
Absolutely, and that could be their, bridge to the next,
Totally.
whatever. You know what I mean? They've got all the other songs, and then that one's like the one that's like, oh, maybe I'm interested in this kind of music. You know what I mean? Like maybe I remember hearing this when I
Yeah,
was a kid.
yeah. It's like as like production was becoming more of a thing for my son that he was like gravitating to. I'm like, okay, so like let's put it like a a mature kind of
Sure.
production behind it, and see if we can make it feel kid friendly.
Right. Well, now, so you said you've been influenced a little bit by your kids and what they were listening to. Like, were you like running stuff by them, like anything like that? Did they hear any of these songs
Yeah.
before they made it, or like, what was your,
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
mean,
what's your focus group for something like this?
that's a good question. I mean, you ask like my 5-year-old now if he likes anything, and he's like, no, no. Like unless it's like poop related or like talking about like punching people, he's generally like not into it.
Sure.
Um, but he totally was like when I first started this project, because it's sort of been a slow roll creating this
Okay.
project over the course of 2 years, sort of in between life. I had a baby in between. Um,
Congratulations.
and he was such a good audience. I would say at like 3 years old, like at three
Oh,
to
nice.
four, I wrote the song like "Rocket to the Moon" for him. He
Mhm.
loved rockets. He was all about it. He wanted that on repeat. Um, so anything that his voice is very much on it this time around too. Like I had him do a
Okay.
lot of BVs. So he loves, like any kid loves hearing themselves or looking at themselves on videos. It's like
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
Sure.
So if he hears his voice, even if it's on a song that he's not like particularly like I have a song called Princess in a Castle, and he's not feeling princesses right now. Um, but he loves hearing his voice on it, so it
Oh,
works.
that's great. Yeah, it's weird how that kind of fades as you get older. Like when you're a kid, you have no shame about appearing in video or like whatever, any audio stuff. You're like, I'm amazing. And then, of course, even in the arts, like when as you get older, you're like, I really don't want to hear myself or edit anything I'm involved in. Like, really
Yeah.
rather not do that. But kids still, I can hear. Now I can hear.
He's just
Oh,
going,
great.
Mommy, Mommy.
That's right on time. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome that you got to that they got to be on it and a part of it and do that kind of stuff. It is weird too, because like again, like my nieces and nephews and stuff like that, like when something's out of fashion with them, it's done. Like, and it could be like within a 24-hour period where like they love dinosaurs. And then literally like 9 a.m. the next day, you
I
get
know.
them a dinosaur thing. I'm
I
like,
won't
oh,
buy I won't buy into any franchise now. I'm like, I know how this works. It's
yeah,
like super like what is he into now? He's into like King Kong. I don't know where that came from. But he wants like a King Kong everything.
yeah.
Or a Godzilla everything. I'm like, I'm
I
not
know.
doing
They
this.
keep
It's gonna
pumping
be
out those
gone.
movies. Yeah.
It's gonna be done tomorrow. Yeah, he probably saw a billboard somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everywhere I look, like when I go to the like Target or something like that, there's like a million Godzilla, King Kong action figures,
Yeah, that's
and
what it
then
is.
oh yeah, absolutely, they're all over the place. And they're cool. They're much cool. All the toys are much better than when we were younger. Like I wish, like half the time, I'm like, God, I'm too old to play with anything, but I would totally kill for like, a realistic looking monkey figure. Like that's amazing. Like a giant ape. Like we didn't have that.
Right. I
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one kind of, and this is not a sponsorship moment by all means, but it's like the Tony box. Have you heard of the Tony box? Like
No.
for parents, this thing is a game changer, and I like started it too late. It's like this radio, which is it looks like a box that's just a radio, and there's little figures that you put on top of them that are like different franchises, like it's like Paw
Sure.
Patrol or whatever, and it's just like story time. So instead of like watching TV, he can like even you feel better as a parent, like not having time because like he's totally engaged with the story, but
Right.
he's just listening to someone basically read a story.
Right. Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's incredible. I
anyways,
didn't know that.
that's my
Yeah.
my little cell.
Yeah, that's a good sell though. Yeah,
You're
we'll get
welcome.
a sponsorship out of it. I'll be like, hey,
Some money.
she got an album out, and also she bought your
That's
shit.
right.
It's all over the place. That's pretty great. So now are you like, is this something that you guys are looking to get into? Because I have a couple like musical guests that have been on this show, and I find it very interesting when stuff trends over trend like just translates into either movies or TV. And
Yeah.
one band that I had on basically said they will name their songs specific things if they think like it'll get picked up by somebody, because all those people are looking for is like, we got a scene where a
Right.
guy's running, so let me type in running and see what songs pop up. And she's like, sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the song and the lyrics, but it just works.
It's
Like,
interesting.
are you guys looking to like? Because I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of, as I was listening to them, sometimes it felt like this could have been a soundtrack of a kids movie or been in a kids movie. Are you guys like leaning towards
I
that, or like
mean,
what do you think of doing
that
with
would
it?
be amazing, right? That's like everyone's dream,
Yeah.
right? If it could be in like film and TV, I have always had an aspiration to like voice a character of something.
Ooh,
I love watching how like kids' worlds unfold.
sure.
Um, and we didn't specifically write this for like any sort of project in mind.
Mhm.
Everything sort of came organically, but we definitely wanted it to have commercial appeal, and have the opportunity to be like, hey, this like kids thing needs a song about, whatever. I'm like, I got it. But I think, each song kind of stands in its own right now.
Right.
But I would love to create a world for, the film and TV side of things. I think there's really clever content that's already out there in the kids space too.
Yeah, there is a lot of good stuff like that. Like it's and even with the like, I know Pixar was like the end all be all for a while, but now there's a bunch of other animation studios and a bunch of other
Yeah.
different platforms, and they're all kind of killing it. Like there's, um especially with their soundtracks and the songs too, like God, there was that one movie or whatever, and they snagged Brandy Carlisle, and like the song is, it's a kids movie, but the song is so good that I'm like, I don't really care what it's for. It's a great song, good message.
Yeah. I forget what I was watching the other night with my son. Oh, we watched a marathon of all the Kung Fu Pandas, and like the like
They're so good though.
voices, like they're so funny, they're so fun, and
Yeah,
like just like they're stacked with like actors, and like everyone that ever becomes a parent wants to sort of be part of it, to
sure.
have their families be part of it. I just think it's so much fun. I'm always listening to like the music and the scores behind these
Yeah.
bigger
And
franchises.
you can't go wrong with Jack Black. I mean, he did that Britney
No,
Spears
it's so
song
good.
recently, and I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't even thought to have.
Timeless,
Yeah,
timeless comedy, timeless.
it's so
So
good.
good.
Is there anybody that you've wanted to work with that you just like, because I know you have gotten to work with a bunch of amazing artists and stuff like that over the years, but like, is there anybody that like is your dream artist to like collaborate with?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, just in life, yes. I mean, of course, like Nora Jones, where are you at? I would love a collab. Like if Nora, can you imagine if Nora Jones did like a lullaby album?
Oh my
Like,
God, I'd listen to it. I'd
would
follow. Yeah,
crush. I mean,
yeah,
like she kind of already does that anyways. Like
sure,
they're, ageless.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that would be I mean, the ultimate collab would be Sade. I mean, no one can
Oh,
touch Sade. Like she's like
yeah.
iconic. Um, I don't know about Sade in the children's genre, like that doesn't
Good work.
vibe. But yeah, but she's
With
always
you
been
writing the
like
music, yeah.
yeah, she's always been the creme de la creme for me.
Yeah, she's incredible. God, I don't think there's enough Sade love, to be honest. Like, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, she doesn't put out records these days, but if she
I
did,
know.
I would be like right there.
There's a lot of people like that I feel like just are very comfortable disappearing, and I'm like, how can you
She's a
stand it?
baller. She's a baller. That's why.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. Well,
She's
it's
like, I
like
don't need to.
um Tracy Chapman, who just doesn't,
Yeah.
like she hasn't performed it or done it in like what, like 15 years, and then she just went and did Fast Car again and like exploded, and
I mean, that performance was epic.
it was. And I was just like,
Yeah.
and didn't miss a beat. And then there's some people that, like, not to shit on anybody, but you see people that are still touring and you're like, oh, you need to stop. Uh, it's like, it's doesn't,
Yeah.
ixnay, it doesn't
Yeah. It
sound
doesn't
good.
hit.
Yeah, no, especially when they do that thing where they sing the lyric and then like they can't hit the note, so they let the audience do it, and you're like, oh no, I didn't come to hear that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
you couldn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
that's
get
crazy.
that.
But it's cool. So you are an executive in the music industry, and you've been doing that for a while. I have like so many. I love. I'm like I mean, everybody's a fan of music, but I'm a hardcore like music fan, and I love having like my favorite bands on and stuff like that. I just find the world because I mean I've been doing comedy for almost 2 decades, and it's just an interesting world, and there's a lot of things that overlap, but there's a lot I still don't understand. And something that my friend had just told me recently is like she just put out a new album and she's been getting a lot of press for it and all the other stuff, but basically like just the way the streaming platforms work now and everything else, how much money it costs to have if you got like a record label or something that backing one single just to get one single out there. And it's like, how do you compete, like, and I know that you kind of help like rising musicians and stuff like that figure out the business, but is there any real way to figure it out at this point, like to lock it down, or is it just changing as fast as like let's say AI can do now? You know what I mean? Like, how do you compete with that?
Oh man, that's like
It's a
that's a
loaded
layered
question.
question right
It
there.
is, it is, but I like
Uh,
it's yeah.
I mean, I get I mean, like the reason I'm on the business side and I've always sort of maintained a job on the executive side is because I feel like there is such a disconnect from like the art and the business side.
Sure.
And there's so much to learn and there's so much that changes all the time, like particularly in the digital side of things and like understanding publishing and understanding your rights and the different organizations, particularly if you're self-published.
Hmm.
There's so much to do and there's so much business to attend to. And if you don't have a whole team, it feels almost untenable, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I guess it is very possible, but like some advice that I give is sort of to take it like one step at a time and not try to be everything at once. You're not a digital market. Like when you are the artist, you're not a digital marketer, you're not a social media person, you're
Right.
not, like you need to hone in on your strengths
Right.
and on the business side, like really understand your business and how you're making money and how you're monetizing your music.
Right.
Um, when it comes to like the executive side of things, when I do get questions about like entering the business and everyone wants to jump right into all of the like flashy sides of the business, like the A&R or, marketing or different things that feel maybe more creative leaning.
Mhm.
And advice I give is like really get into like maybe the not so like luxurious parts of the industry right off the bat, like licensing. Licensing
Right.
is so important to know, and it's so layered, and not a lot of people know the ins and outs of it.
Right.
And it's not sexy, but it's so good to know like these parts of the business, and it's sort of
Sure.
like can be make you stand out as like a superpower of like, oh, I understand publishing, I understand licensing, like I can tell
Right.
you how like splits are, how this goes. I can tell you how PROs work, and I I'm always an advocate of really understanding business.
Right. So do you think the days of just kind of being an artist and only focusing on that are behind us?
Man, I just feel like things change so fast that like I don't think I think you would be doing yourself a disservice by not understanding, you know, everything behind your art and how the machine is working.
Right.
Um, I definitely had, even as like an artist myself, when I was really pursuing it full time in my early 20s, I was trying to do like everything all at once. And as a result of that, I was doing nothing and accomplishing nothing.
So true.
Like, and it
Absolutely
was
true.
just and feeling so like low and ashamed and like I should be so much further in my career now just because like I couldn't figure out where to put my time.
Yeah.
And like, it's so hard to figure out like where like okay, am I only a performer? Do I only just work on playing guitar and like writing
Yeah.
really good songs right now? Like how do I manage my time?
Right. Yeah, it is and the worst thing is getting advice like in every different direct like when I because I remember
Yeah.
when I was younger, you're just like, you always take bits and pieces from what people say, but the worst part about it is like almost getting new management or having somebody else represent you is like going to a new doctor where if you don't feel well, but you go to get a second opinion and they have you run through the same tests. And you're like, but I already have these and I can show you, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh
Right.
no, but you're with me now. So we're going to do this again. And it's just like, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing with management and stuff like that too sometimes where they're like, oh, have you thought about like posting every Tuesday? And you're like, I did a lot of this before. And they're like,
Yeah.
hold up, you got new people behind you, so we're gonna, and it's like, meanwhile you're bleeding money, and
Yeah. If it
you
doesn't
know,
feel authentic,
right?
then don't do it. Um, and like
Are
a
you?
piece of advice I got was like, your team is only an extension of you.
Yeah,
Um, so it's like you're steering everything and you're managing how everyone is sort of should be kind of working on your behalf and
right,
representing you.
right. Are you guys at all like, because we did comedians and AI. I feel like we're not as worried about it because it's, I mean, we are in that, sometimes the audience just likes trash and there's really nothing, they don't, not a lot of people have an ear for it. And it's just one of those things that if something gets a lot of views or whatever it is, it doesn't
Right,
matter whether it's good or not. It's just that other people see that this thing likes it.
right.
And even though, so like we're not really worried about it in the sense that, AI hasn't really been able to write jokes well enough or to really have the experience to put behind a joke. But I do see some stuff from AI where they really are good at copying a vocal range or whatever it is and like making
Yeah.
people music. Are you guys like, is that like a lot of talk in the music industry? Are you guys nervous about it or do you think you have a handle on it?
You know, I haven't had like intense conversations about this or like thorough conversations about this
Mhm.
yet. I've had some just more off the cuff conversations with the songwriter community and getting a
Mhm.
sense of like how they're feeling about it from like producers and songwriters. And I actually think there's sort of more excitement around it
That's
than you would
good.
think of
Wow.
like this is coming, like it's
Mhm.
here. How like there's no stopping it. Like
Right.
how do we utilize it to work to our benefit?
Hmm.
Um, and I think some people are already seeing ways in which they can do that.
Yeah.
I've seen some like crazy things in sessions where it's like, particularly in the kind of like demo phase of things, when you're just putting something together, you're like, what would it sound with like a guy singing this, that sounded like this.
That's cool though. Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
It's just like a quick, like before you would have to get like a demo singer
Right.
um, to kind of test it out, but you can sort of like play with things. I haven't played with it myself at all,
Sure.
really. Um, but I think it's here and it's gonna have to be part of our life and it's going to hopefully be an exciting shift. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's so much legality involved in all of
Yeah.
it that feels scary and overwhelming too. And like,
Definitely.
how do you protect yourself
Well, we just had the
and
writer's
your,
strike and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's complicated and layered and perhaps something that could be good. Who knows?
But that's an interesting point too. I never thought about that. Like if you're demoing something and you'd like to see how it might be sung or even like if you're, I mean, I guess it saves time if you're like, oh, what would this sound like on piano versus, instead of having to do it if you don't have the availability or whatever to.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think I I mean, it's nowhere close to being figured out how it's going to kind of
Right.
evolve, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely watching um intently.
That's crazy. You had mentioned before about playing guitar and doing vocals and stuff like that. Do you remember what your first instrument was and like how you wound up snagging it?
It was piano, sort of by force, because I really wanted to take voice lessons. So it was like the combo or nothing. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, I still can like find myself around it. Like I can work it out, but I wish I go through phases where I'm like, I'm gonna be a great musician again, and like I'm gonna be a piano player, and I'm gonna perform just piano, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, when am I gonna have time to do that? Like, truly, it's just like one of those moments where like, know your strengths.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've for fun, which has actually been purely for fun. I have tried to take up guitar as an
Oh, that's
adult.
cool.
So that's been like a fun kind of treat for myself
Is it
once you're
harder to
older.
learn now than it was then?
I mean, I think some things come so naturally. Like instruments never came like super naturally to me. Like I always like, like people that can like just pick something up. I'm like, who are
Yeah,
you? Like, how do you do that? Like that was never me.
right.
So no, it hasn't come naturally, but I would say because there's no sort of like pressure with guitar, I don't feel like I need to perform ever with it. It's
Hmm.
just like a fun thing that I pick up when I feel like it and try to learn songs.
That's cool. Did you have anybody that you kind of emulated in the beginning when you were singing and stuff like that? Like somebody like a hero of yours?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is also going to date me. Um, yes. I mean,
This is
do you
not
want to
my
know my
goal, by
first?
the way. I'm not
Yeah,
trying
I
to do this to
know.
you, but yeah.
My my first concert I went to was a Barbara Streisand concert. Oh my gosh.
Nice. Wow.
I know my parents. I was a big fan of Funny Girl. I mean, now it's like commercial because of the Broadway play, but like I
Sure.
loved the movie. Perhaps like a little mature for me as a kid, but I watched that anyways. So it
Yeah.
was like her, like I watched Beaches, also quite mature. There's like a lot
Oh
of
my
sex in that
God.
one.
Wow.
But like I
You really
loved
put
Bette
yourself through
Midler.
it.
Yeah, I loved like those kind of like showy like singers, like
Sure.
Broadway vaudeville as singers. So I would always want like my first thought was like I wanted to be a musical theater. That's what I wanted to do. I love those big belty voices.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what I was trying to do as a kid.
That's crazy. Did you ever get to meet her?
No, did not. Negative.
It's- I know. Like, looking like I was fucking crazy. Come on, we get to meet our
I was
heroes
like,
sometimes.
okay,
You could
I'll
do it.
manifest that. Yeah,
Yeah. Get John working on it.
I'd love a bet moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy. I like the musical theater aspect to it. Now that you kind of said that to me, now that I'm rethinking some of the songs on your new album, I'm like, oh my God, you can kind of totally hear it a little bit.
Yes.
Were
Um,
you ever in any plays when you were younger?
yes, I was in a lot of like school musicals, like Sound of
Nice.
Music, Oliver,
Oh, nice.
and then I switched in high school to like classical music.
I feel like I could see
And
that.
was doing opera and all of that fun stuff
Wow.
and studied classical music in college.
Did you want to go completely in that direction? Like, what steered you away from opera and classical to like what you're
No, I just thought it was like a fun departure, and
Holy shit. I love that you were like, yeah, I just did it for funsies. No big deal. I'm just,
yeah.
I'm a,
Well, also, they didn't like I didn't go to a particular like a musical theater school,
okay.
and on a lot of the schools, what you can take for credit is classical music. So I was like,
Okay.
that seems to translate. Like perhaps I'll, do classes in like vocal performance.
Hmm.
But generally they're always in like classical music.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And then did you hate the piano like because it was forced on you or did you just like, it's not your,
No, I just wasn't good at it. Like I
okay.
just like, I would have to like not that it's a bad thing, but like I would have to like really try to to kind of like get to a good enough level.
Gotcha.
And I think good enough is where I'll just stay. I'm happy with that. Definitely
No,
happy
that's
with
cool. I
that.
mean, I'm assuming you still use it when you're writing if you need to, like at the very least. Like, are you a lyrics person first, or do you hear like a
I'm
melody
a
in your head?
melody. I hear melody always first and
Okay, you
foremost.
do.
Like that comes first, and then like whatever gibberish comes after it. But like
Mhm.
melody always first for me.
That's really cool. I think that's an interesting way to write without having any kind of like you know lyrics and stuff behind it. So how would you like if you're in a writer's room and doing that kind of stuff? Like, how do you usually relay what's in your head to somebody else? Like, is there somebody else with you and you're like, okay, I need lyrics to this, and you kind of just play it for them a little bit or whatever, or is it more of a like you trying to match lyrics to that after the fact?
I think it always changes, but generally it's like someone will have in a room, like I always co-write. I generally never write by myself, but I'll have an idea or like a voice memo that I recorded while I was driving. I have an
Oh,
idea and I'll have like a word or a melody kind of in there somehow. Um, and then I'll be with musicians that are a lot better than me and producers that can help like build out that melody into like structure.
Nice.
That's my like kind of dream scenario of collaborating that feels the most like natural and comfortable to
Hmm.
me is like, and then everything sort of once a framework is there, then like melodies will just come.
Yeah. So you're much more comfortable collaborating than like doing stuff solo.
Always. Yeah, I've always been a
That's really
collaborator.
cool. So the pandemic must have driven you crazy then. Were you doing much creating around that time? Like, how did you stay like? Because I remember talking to a bunch of people. They were like, "Yeah, we just had to like email shit back and forth to everybody, and
Yeah,
it."
I know some people got like real creative, particularly in the like the ways that they were being creative. I
Mhm.
did not. I was just like, I'm gonna pause. Like, we're just gonna hold
That's great though.
creativity paused.
Hmm.
Um, I
I
wasn't
got you.
feeling it,
I
but a lot
understand.
of people had a lot of success with the pandemic and getting them creating like that.
Yeah, some people broke away from like just producers in general and shit, and they're like had to break out because they were like, oh, it was nice having nobody kind of like tell us what we need to be doing or how to do it or whatever. So we just sat in our own studio and created, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah. I like everyone. I don't know. It blows my mind. Everyone has like their own different ways of doing things, and like has a very specific process,
Yeah.
particularly like ones that have been doing it for a minute now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny when you see like everybody's individual process and how they get to where they get because we all kind of wind up at the same place creatively for the most part. Like, whether it's successful or not is another story, but you know what I mean? But we still kind of wind up with a product at the end of it. And
Yeah,
then, but it's interesting too, because it's like, oh, I could never work that way that you were, you know what I mean? Like I could never do that thing, but like we still wind up getting to,
yeah.
you know,
The creative like the like ways of working that always throw me off, which like
mm,
some people are so amazing at it, is like I've been in sessions where I walk in and they're just like go into the booth and sing what's on your mind, or I'm like,
ooh,
what? Like that seems crazy to me. Like
yeah, yeah.
or like they'll play a beat and they'll be like, just go in there and start like riffing. And like,
Wow.
depending on how comfortable I am with the person, like I can just go for it. But if I'm just
Mhm.
meeting someone for the first time, like that feels so vulnerable for me and like scary. But some people go in and just like nail it. They go in just like singing to a song or a beat they've never heard before and just like put a whole structure down.
Oh my god. It's so funny that you say
Blows
that.
my
I
mind.
just saw an Elton John clip from like 90 something and like Richard E. Grant. It was like a weird thing where like a bunch of celebrities were actually in the audience and they were like asking him questions. And Richard E. Grant said, "Oh, I heard you can write a song based on any lyrics that somebody hands you or whatever." And he took the instructions off of the back of his fridge and was like, "Could you write something? Could you sing something about this?" And Elton did it. Like he just got down and like riffed like whatever was happening and did like a couple different versions of it. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
like a lot of musicians, I'm sure, can do that. Like that's what they
Wild.
do all day long.
Yeah. Did you have any other like when you were a kid, like was there something else you wanted to be? Like other than this, or was it always just music?
It was always music, but I was teetering. I never could figure out if I was like going to be a music executive because I had such a passion for that, and or was I going to be the artist? And so I pursued both. And I was like, at some point, like, I'm going to have to choose a lane or a lane will be chosen for me. And I was really hoping the latter would be like what happened because I like really couldn't give up one or the other. Like, I couldn't consciously be like, I'm no longer going to pursue being an artist. Like,
Right.
that just felt very sad for me.
Hmm.
Um, but organically, it just sort of fell into place. And I still identify very much with being an artist, although it's not like the traditional trajectory of an artist
Sure.
career I'm on currently. Um, but to me, it feels organic and where I'm supposed to be. Um, so, so yeah. But that didn't really answer your question. The only other thing that I was super passionate about was volleyball, which is
Oh,
like a
nice.
whole other. Yeah, I played very competitive volleyball growing up,
Very cool.
and
No,
in
that's
college.
awesome.
Yeah.
I've never had anybody on the show. I've had like 200 episodes. No one's ever thrown volleyball at me before. That's pretty great.
It's
I
like
like
I'm
that.
from Orange County and volleyball is like
Oh,
pretty
lead with
hardcore
that.
down there. Yeah,
That makes sense. That I think you have to
yeah.
be like good at volleyball to live in those communities. I think they're like, let's see what you got.
It's kind of like a prerequisite. It's what everybody did. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's too good. Uh, so like it must be really comforting though for other musicians to work with you as an executive to know that you understand the artist mindset and that you are an artist. Like I feel like I mean to me like if I meet another guy who's like running a thing and they used to be a comic, I'm like, oh, so you know like how fucking hard this, or whatever.
yeah, I used to be really like shy about it. Like I felt like maybe people wouldn't take me seriously if they like knew that I don't know. You get in your head when you're like doing
Sure.
these things. So I always kept things very separate. Um, but I realized a while ago that like my artistry only informs me as an executive and makes me more relatable and someone people feel comfortable and vulnerable with.
Right.
Um, so, I definitely lead with it in conversations now. And it tends to be something that just makes people comfortable. And, obviously I'm not trying to get on a tour bus right now and like do things how I was trying to do it when I was in my early 20s. But,
Sure.
you know, I I feel like me still being active, particularly as a songwriter and artist still, makes me understand what's happening even more,
Hmm.
like to go through the whole process of like releasing music, like from like A to B and doing it, all on my own, really.
Yeah.
I really understand how like it keeps me up to date too, of like how things have changed since the last album I released and just like current into like what's happening with distributors and what you have to do as a self-published writer now.
Right. What did your parents think of your trajectory overall? Like, did they offer advice? Did they let you kind of go fly on your own? You know what I mean? Like you were entering a world that they were, familiar with. Because I find that so interesting too. Like some people are like, my parents did not want me to follow in any footsteps or any kind of, going to the arts. But what were they cool with it when you told them what you wanted to do?
I think so. I think they were hoping that I mean, yes, like they were very supportive.
Hmm.
I think they were hoping I would find like a path that like felt um like safe, safer than just the like traditional artist path.
Right.
But I very much was pursuing my art for a long time and
Hmm.
they drove up from Orange County and came to every show.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so it like,
Have you ever played with them?
no, I mean, my dad doesn't have like a musical, bone, but like such
Okay.
an appreciator of the
Right. Right.
arts. And my mom just like loved that I was pursuing it.
Hmm.
And we're super proud of me for giving it a try. Um, and I gave it more than a try. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. And again, you got this album out, which is incredible.
Yeah.
What are you guys planning now? Like, do you have anything else in mind, or are you just focused now on getting this out there and kind of doing this kind of marketing?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously it's so much work. Like you don't just release, I mean, like I relate in so many different ways now. Like it's not just, the album, it's just like there's so much more to like
Sure.
releasing music now. But I definitely want to go back to other children's songs that I've released already and
Nice.
even thinking about this next album of rewriting or reinterpreting the songs in Spanish. I've always wanted
Oh,
to do an album in Spanish or create new songs for Spanish families.
would you do covers? Like, if you could cover one, would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your favorite
Uh,
like children's song that you would like to like revamp?
for Spanish, in
Yeah.
Spanish.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a hard one. I would probably not choose a children's song. I would choose like a contemporary song and make it a lullaby.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's a
You know
really
what I
good idea.
mean?
Yeah. That's actually like one of those things too that I think has been really oddly popular. Like, do you know the band Wolf Alice?
No. Should I?
They're really good. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I could send you some. I'm a big nerd about this kind of shit. So if you like nod me over to send you stuff, I will. But like, yeah, they're a great band. They're out of England. Ellie Rousel is the lead singer, and they came out. Their last album they came out, I think it was like maybe like slightly post pandemic. It's called Blue, I think. They fucking crushed it like with this album. It's so good. But they took like 4 or 5 songs off of it and created a lullaby album. And then it's the
Cool.
first time I'd ever heard anybody doing that. And then I think like a couple other things I've noticed kind of following suit. And it's crazy because you don't like, you don't realize like stuff like that could be turned into it. I think it takes a very skilled like kind of mind to do that kind of stuff too. Like the fact that you were just like threw it out there like it was nothing. It was like, yeah, I'll just take a popular song and turn it into a lullaby for a Spanish, whatever. I think that's awesome because it's hard to unhear something the way they're used to hearing it like 24/7 on the radio or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's
I
interesting.
mean, every song could be any song with a great
Oh,
melody could be translated into a lullaby, right? Um,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't
I
have
mean,
I
it
wish
might
I
be
had the ear
weird.
for it.
You
It
know what
might be
song would be amazing? Although
what?
usually it doesn't translate to like a baby, but it's beautiful. More Than Words. I've always loved that song. Like by
That's a great
Extreme.
song.
It's so
Yeah,
beautiful. I mean, not like, you'd have to like interpret it a little bit, but
sure.
it's already lullaby-esque. But it's
Absolutely.
such a beautiful song.
Yeah, definitely. Or like anything, maybe like anything by the Motels too. I don't know if you like the Motel, but like Suddenly Last Summer or something like that would maybe be a good. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but it totally did because I was thinking like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's get the list for the next album here.
you know what? Seriously, like put together, you should. Oh man, you should do like an '80s lullaby album.
I'm sure
Like,
I'm sure if you go into Spotify, there's like a million 80s lullaby playlists already.
there probably are. Yeah, you're right.
We think we're
You're right.
being so creative right now,
I
but
know.
like,
I remember when I was in high school, they came out with like Punk Goes '80s or something like that, and then I
yeah.
was like, and I just, yeah, I mean, like the Ataris did like Boys of Summer or whatever. Like, there's a couple that I still remember,
Hmm.
but some of them fucking sucked. You were just like, oh, I don't think a lot of '80s songs should go punk right now. That's probably not a good idea. Um,
Yeah.
are you are you looking to do any of these? Like, would you ever put together like a live show?
I thought about it. I may do something for the album release.
Mm,
I haven't, I mean, like we said, like, where do I put my time? Like, I don't really have a lot of it. Do I do it
right.
in the live space? Do I, just work on cranking out more songs?
Mm,
So I'm trying to figure that out right now, but I definitely think there's such a cool space. Like the people that do this well in the children's space are just cranking right now. They're doing really
yeah.
well.
Are they really? Um,
Yeah, it's like, I mean, every mom, I just said mom like I'm from London, but
I heard that too. That was great. It's like way to switch
you
it
have it,
up.
mom.
Yeah.
Every mom wants activities. Like days were so long. Like
Yeah.
days, like especially on the weekends, like we need activities. Like so it's
Sure.
like going to see kids programming if it's good is like such a great way to spend time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. I keep thinking about that kind of stuff. Like my friends, when I was listening to the album, and I did like tell them to like look out for it too, because I just think like, oh man, they'll be so happy they could pop something in. Like I used to love music when I was a kid, and my mom would literally sit me in front of like, I think, oh man, talk about dating yourself. But like when MTV, like when stuff was on or whatever, she would just be like, boink.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like, now I've got like Wake Me Up For You Go Go stuck in my head, like for no reason. Cause I'm like, oh my God, yeah. That's what I used to listen to when I
Yeah.
was like a child.
Yeah.
It's so cool though. I mean, I love what you're doing, and it's nice to have anything that includes like adults and like they can get spend time with their kids because music and bonding for me with like my mom especially was like a huge thing. Road trips, like driving, to and from places. I spent a lot of time, and my mom like is the one who got me into music and stuff. So it was it's nice to have like something when you're younger that you could also an adult could appreciate too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I have 3 questions that I ask every guest that's been
oh,
on the show.
go for
So
it.
yeah. So first question is a little bit of a softball question, but if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Um, don't be such a hard critic on yourself. Like, be kind.
Nice. I like that. That's very sweet. Um, Second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
Ooh. Um, let's see. I would say the like that voice in my head that said there was only one path to success in music.
Ooh.
And I very much had that. I had this like myopic like view of like this is what it means to be a successful artist. And there's
Mhm.
one way. Like you have to be a touring musician, you have to make this amount of money and like that was I once I let that go, I just freed myself up of like a lot of opportunities that I didn't know were there.
Nice. Do you know what the catalyst was that helped you kill it?
To kill that voice,
That voice, yeah.
I think there was some really great people in my life at the time that
Mm,
helped me see all the great things I was accomplishing in music that I wasn't seeing myself. Um, and
very
kind
cool.
of letting someone else kind of put that in front of you. It's like, oh yeah, like I have done a lot. It's like when you're in it, when you're so in it, it's so hard to see, anything but like not achieving things
Oh my
that you
God.
wanted.
You're so fucking right. I love that you just said that because it's so true and it's a weird way to exist, but you do get that tunnel vision and it does
Yeah.
take some of the people sometimes to just be like, dude, look, like,
Look at this. But
yeah,
yeah, you've done so much.
right. That's really cool. And the last question ties into the theme of the show. So it's called Dystopia tonight. And if you woke up tomorrow and you found out that it was the end of the world for everybody, and everybody else knows too, but you just wake up, boom, it's over. Um, what do you think would be happening? Like, what do you think the genuine dystopia? Do you think it would be like a political collapse,
Party?
climate change? Yeah, aliens, zombie, whatever would be happening to destroy the world. And what would be your epic death? What are you going to be doing? How are you
Oh
spending it?
my God. I
Yeah,
should
I
have
know it's
watched
dark.
some of these episodes.
You should have. I got some. I'll tell you some interesting responses after yours, but it's been
What
interesting.
do I think it would be? I think it would be like a blackout. Like it would be
Ooh,
what is it? An asteroid. Like it would
okay,
just be like dinosaur extinction. Um,
love it. And how are you
and
going
then
out?
and how we're going out.
Yeah, what are you gonna
Oh
do?
man,
What are you eating everything you love? What are you just?
I am I am hanging with the fam. I am
Okay.
have everyone in my arms and we are enjoying In and Out burger.
Ooh, thank you. That is such a good answer. That's so great. I
Yeah.
love when people choose like at least or just like let you know about at least a certain food or something like that to go out to because I like to know. I like first of all, it's good for my options because I feel like I'm learning some things. And then yeah, that's awesome. That's a good way to go.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I like that.
my
That's sweet.
favorite meal.
Yeah. Some people went with some really fucked up shit sometimes.
I don't even want to I
I was
don't
gonna say,
even
I was like,
want
you
to
know
know.
what? We're gonna keep this.
I was gonna keep it
Um,
light. I'm gonna keep it
yeah,
light.
yeah, we'll keep it light. But yeah, some people were very big on like, I'm gonna eat all the things I'm not supposed to. It's definitely the last day. Like I'm having all the sugar, every hitting up every place. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was great. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I can't wait to see what else
Thank
you guys
you.
come up with. Yeah.
It was great chatting.
Dystopia tonight.